Hey there YouTube and all my subscriber family. It's been a while since I've actually made another video, let alone uploaded one. Now I do have a lot of content that I'm going to be getting into probably within the next couple of weeks, although that's not a for sure thing. I've made the executive decision without making any mention of it that I decided to work on a portion of my bus build. As you can see, my ceiling is taken apart, and I'll go into that more when I get to that point. But I decided to take each project one at a time and then edit a series of videos after that when I reach a comfortable point. There have been some people that have reached out to me, and I greatly appreciate that. It really shows that the YouTube community that has been attracted my way and that I have built because of all of you over a period of time really do care, and that goes a long way with me. It really does. And I don't want you to think that I don't think about you, because I really do. And that's an honest statement, as I'm always honest. But since it's been so long since I've made a video, like we're talking, what, at least 2 months? Yeah, about 2 months, give or take. I decided I wanted to do an experiment, and I want to have you involved in it. So let's go ahead and get that started. So don't mind the mess. It's a giant construction zone right here. And you'll hear the lovely rain. I love that part. But right here we've got a plank of cedar. I purchased 8 to start out with, and there will be plenty more where that comes from. And anyway, so this is normally used for making a fence. Obviously in my bus I don't need a fence. So I wanted to try out a light stain color and a clear coat. I already know that the stain color works really well. I kind of tested it on a piece of oak. That's for a different project on my ceiling. And the cedar is actually going to be implemented in several parts of the bus. So this is not for any specific project in the bus itself for the time being. I just want to see how nice it's going to work. As you can already see, the grain is absolutely gorgeous. The bus smells amazing right now, and I want to sand this down and then apply the color and see how well the grain looks after applying the stain color. The idea is to be able to accentuate and really bring out the beauty of the grain without having to make the wood a really dark color. And so to start out with, as you can see, I mean, this is... You can see a lot of saw marks, a lot of mill marks, and you know, I wouldn't expect any less. I mean, this stuff is not necessarily expensive. It's not even $2 a plank. But the reason why I decided to go with cedar is, for one thing, it's a local Pacific Northwest cedar farm that grows this cedar. So I guess it's kind of supporting that, but moreover because, well, who doesn't love cedar, right? So to do the sanding portion of this project properly, it takes 4 different sanding procedures, and unfortunately I bought 2 sets of 180 grit sandpaper. That was not intentional. I meant to get 80 grit, 120 grit, 180 grit, and then 220. That would be a proper order for the stain method that I want to try out. So just keep that in mind, that normally I would use 4 sets of sandpaper. But since I do not have that, I'm going to go with 80 grit. I'm going to sand more than usual in 180 grit because I'm going to have to make up the difference. And then I'll finish it up with some 220 grit. And the reason why you want to do this is because the more procedures, the more steps in sanding that you do before you do any staining, the less likely you're going to have scratch marks or circles when you're using an orbital sander, such as my cordless Ryobi right here. So that's why. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Using the 80 grit sandpaper as of right now, and you can already see how much more beautiful the cedar already is. And to compare that to what it used to look like, you see all the millwork. Naturally, I haven't really sanded all that much on this edge yet, but you can see there is a huge difference between that which has already been sanded to 80 grit, and it's only going to look much better as I go along. So, and you can still see some of the mill marks, and depending on how the stain is taken by the cedar, that will determine how much I'm going to actually have to sand. But for the time being, I'm already liking the results. Alright, I got all of my sanding done. And if you remember, this is what the plank looked like prior to doing any of the sanding. And after I've completed my procedure of 220 grit sandpaper sanding, that is the result. And it is absolutely gorgeous. Now keep in mind that to a certain degree, I did not take out all of the chunks of millwork that you see there, mainly because I want to see how much that's going to be noticeable and how it's going to look when I apply the light stain. Because I know a clear coat is not necessarily going to show that anymore, so, or put any emphasis on it like stain typically will. And since cedar is a very soft wood, it's likely going to show quite well. But hopefully it won't look any worse than this darker portion of grain right there. But we'll see once I apply the stain. And that brings us to this right here. This is the stain I'll be using. It's a Minwax product. It's a water-based stain, which is what I prefer to use in a small enclosed environment such as this bus. And it's supposed to just bring out the natural beauty of the wood itself. So we'll see how well this works. And I've already kind of pre-opened the can a little bit. And I'm sure you can tell there's hardly any pigment in there. The more pigment that's in a stain, the less translucent it is. So all I'm going to do after wiping off the dust here, and thankfully there's not too much leftover dust, is just simply take the rag right here, dip it into some of the stain, and my goodness, look at this. This is incredible. I don't know if the camera is going to be able to really show how amazing this really looks. And the nice thing about this stain, because it's water-based and there's hardly any pigment to it, is it really doesn't take a lot to spread around. And from what I can tell so far is that, I'm going to wipe it off here. From what I can tell, the millwork does not seem to be overly emphasized. And that's encouraging, because I don't want to have to sand these planks from 1/2 inch in thickness all the way down to like 1/8 of an inch. That would be way too much. And what I'm going to use to seal coat is some polyacrylic. It's another Minwax product. It's a water-based clear coat. It's very durable when it dries. And I'm going to want to put 3 coats of clear coat over this. I probably didn't need to, but I'm going to stir it anyway. It's out of habit at work. That's what I do. And I'm just going to take a roller. Now, for most, when I really get started on the planks for various projects in the bus, I'm going to be using a brush to apply the clear coat, and then I'll use a larger cabinet roller to roll it out and smoothen it. I was thinking about spraying them, but then I thought, you know, this could be just as effective, but not have to bring out a compressor or anything like that. So this is still going to take some time to dry. It's been about half an hour, give or take, and it's almost ready for the second coat, in which case I will use a 320 grit little sanding block in between coats, and then slowly I will add the additional 2 coats, and then I'll be done with this portion of my little experiment. Nevertheless, this is what it looks like, and by the time the third coat is dry, the sheen will be higher, but overall the look will not change. And if you remember, that's what it looked like when I first started. It's still gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely in less than adequate shape, if you ask me, for my own preference. But yeah, big difference. And it's absolutely stunning. Just gorgeous. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little experiment with me as I took you along with my bus build journey. And I look forward to actually uploading some videos here in the near future, so look forward to that. And I appreciate all of you who have been hanging on, as I've been more or less kind of silent for the time being. But it's for good reason. And as always, thank you for watching. Take care. Love others as you love yourself. And I'll see you next time.